Geekazine and Geek Smack is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network over at techpodcast.com. If it's tech, then it's here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the show we call Geek Smack, the show where we smack the geek out of you like we smack the geek out of Legos and turbine engines and a whole lot more. We're going to be talking about a lot of cool things like Facebook and read it later button. Do you want one of those? I don't know. I think I wouldn't read it then. Anyway, we're also going to be talking about Yahoo. Hey, the wheels are spinning again, and Yahoo's got a new CEO, and yeah, you know how that goes. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Plus, there's a contest. Yeah, I'm giving away a Roku2 XS model, and you got to stick around to find out how to win, and we're going to do that. But first of all, let's get this show on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the show we like to call Geek Smack, where we smack the geek out of you like anything. It's late at night. It's sometime after 12:30. So technically it's Tuesday, but it's still Monday. But it's Tuesday, but it's still Monday. Anyway, I'm your humble host, Jeffrey Powers. If this is the first time you've come to the show, well, thank you very much coming for the audio or the video version. We have the audio version and the video version. You can choose without seeing me, and then with seeing me. Or you can see me and then just close your eyes and then open it up and go, oh yeah, that's him. Close it. Oh no, that's still him. Close it. Open. No, that's still him. Of course, thanks a lot for coming. We do this show every single week because I care. I care about getting you some news. I care about getting you some geek stuff and get you on your way. So you have a full plate so you can figure out what's going on for the week and get ready for next week because next week is always another fun week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, hey, we've got a contest brewing. We're going to be giving you away a Roku2 XS model. It's a $100 value, a Roku2, and we're going to be doing that. But you know how you're going to win? Well, I'm not going to tell you right now because you're going to have to wait. Sometime during this episode, I will tell you how you enter to win a Roku2. It's actually going to be pretty simple. 2 parts to it. 2 parts. That's it. So, anyway, thanks a lot for coming to the show. Subscribe to the show notes over at geekazine.com, www.geekazine.com. Oh, wow. Like I said, this is late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. I am doing this show at this point in time because I am not melting away in Margaritaville. No, wait, that's wasting away again in Margaritaville. I'm just melting. 100-degree days on Monday, 100-degree days on Tuesday. I figured I should probably record the show when I will least sweat. And that is in the middle of the night for now. So I'm going to do that. And then, of course, next week, probably be back to the regular schedule. Unless we're at 110-degree days. But, you know, the core's got to melt, so John Cusack can jump the limousine across San Francisco. Or was it L.A.? One of the two. He jumps. Anyway, the whole point is that we're here, you're there, we're still alive. It's not December 21st of 2012 just yet. It's getting there pretty close. So, a couple other things, just so you know. Like I said, I'm giving away the Roku2. Still looking for writers for Geekazine. And the brand new website, yes, I did start a brand new website. It's over at howtorecordpodcasts.com. Simple, yet long. Howtorecordpodcasts.com. I'm going to have a full rundown of podcast information. We're going to be talking about microphones. We're going to be talking about mixers. We're going to be talking about podcast etiquette. We're going to be talking about using WordPress to set up your podcast or using different websites for your podcast, using different systems for podcasts, so on and so forth. It's just going to be a very general what's going on, who's who, what's what, and why is how over at howtorecordpodcasts.com. Of course, we also have geekazine.com. Of course, we also have dorkazine.com and the Day in Tech History, which is a daily rundown of tech history. Like, for instance, today, what did happen today in tech history? I just had it in my head, and I just completely spaced it out. But, hey, yesterday or was Orville Redenbacher's birthday. So happy birthday to Orville Redenbacher, who would have been 106, I believe it was. So it's pretty wild. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, enough about me talking about me with me. Let's get into your Tech Smack for the week.
Tech Smack.
And of course, Tech Smack is brought to you by our friends over at Telestream. Of course, I use Wirecast to do all this cool switching back and forth. I have the computer over here, which has all my news articles queued up. And then I have this computer that's recording the video through my regular camera, through the camera right here. I can also put a webcam on. I can put down these lower thirds like this one right here, and the other one that you see on the other frames, and I can switch back and forth. This is a great program. If you plan to get into podcasting and you want to do video podcasting and you want to do something with a little bit of switching on just straight up, I want to record something, have it out, and then put it out on the web. This is how you do it. Web podcasting at its best over at Telestream. All you have to do is go over to the site, and I don't know why that's frozen. Oh, there we go. You go over to the website over at telestream.net. But if you go over to geekazine.com/WirecastPC, geekazine.com/WirecastPC for the PC version, Wirecast Mac for the Mac version, you can, of course, help me keep the lights on over at Geekazine. And I'm going to tell you something. I have a lot of lights. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 just pointing at me right now. 7. There's one up there, too. All right, let's get into your tech news for today. Today we're going to start over at CNET. And just so you know, I moved around monitors. I got a new monitor in the place right below the camera, but it's not below the camera just yet. I have to refigure that. So it's actually lower. So if I do this, now you know why, because I'm looking at the monitor here. All right, Facebook users apparently are not as satisfied as Google Plus users. Maybe it's because they complain too much. Maybe it's because they're too snarky or too sarcastic or too facetious. Facetious, sarcastic, it's the same word, isn't it? Somewhat similar to each other. Anyway, apparently their satisfaction continues to be worse. Google Plus, the people love Google Plus. Oh, it's just the best thing in the world. And anybody that complains about Google Plus gets a new hole ripped into them. It's actually pretty funny. I think maybe I'll do a test someday and just write a really bad post about Google Plus and see how many people rip into that bad post about Google Plus. There's a lot of things wrong with Google Plus. I'm going to tell you one of them, it just got fixed, was that iPad app that we talked about last week. Amazing night and day with iPad and the Google Plus app. So now I can use it. It can be more mobile, and I like that. So I don't know. I think that Facebook is doing a decent job for what it's doing. Of course, Facebook has 3 to 4 times as many users as Google Plus. So that might be a factor, but apparently they've got this here. We'll put up this chart up on the site here, and it basically says that now, of course, nothing happened in 2010 or 2011. 2012, Google Plus had a 78% customer satisfaction, where Facebook. Where was Facebook? Facebook is at 61%. Well, it's 8% if you think about it, but it is a 4.7%, a negative 4.7% change from the first year. So I don't know. Like I said, Facebook has 2 to 3 times as many users as Google Plus, if actually more than that. The thing is that I think it's like 7 times the users of Google Plus. I think Google Plus last time I remember had 100 million, and Facebook has 700 to 800 million. I don't know. Well, that's gonna affect customer service big time. Anyway, if you want to read more on this, this is over at cnet.com. What do you think? Do you like Google Plus? Do you like Facebook? To a lot of people, Google Plus is very specific, very special, which means that they won't go to Google Plus as much as they'll go to Facebook. And their friends are over on Facebook, so why do they need to go to Google Plus? I know a lot of people spend 2-3 weeks on Google Plus, and then they're back on Facebook. Heck, there's times that I'm finding myself more on Facebook than on Google Plus, simply because the interaction is over on Facebook. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. You can Twitter me over at Geekazine. There it is. Geekazine@gmail.com is the email address, and 608-205-4378 is the phone number. All right, let's move on. We're going over to eweek.com, where they have a nice big advertisement right in the middle of my article here. Crazy. NBC and MSNBC, Microsoft, NBC, they were MSNBC for a long time. In fact, they went through a lot together, including a major meteorite fall. Tia Leone was reporting that whole thing. If you remember, it was Deep Impact, and the news channel was MSNBC that was reporting the news. It was it was a staple for our lives for 16 years. But the 16-year relationship is now over. MSNBC, Microsoft is pulling out. Apparently, NBC bought the other 50% of Microsoft stocks, and then turned around and is rebranding the site. Something about coming in 2013, it'll still say MSNBC, and then it'll just become NBCNews.com. But yeah, it's making the change over to NBCNews.com. They got a great article over here on eWeek on why Microsoft's experiment ended. And hey, it's 16 years. That's longer than a lot of relationships, a lot of marriages. So congratulations for 16 years. It's sad to see you go, but hey, that's changed. That's how life works. So anyway, eweek.com, you can check that out. Moving over to our friends over at Computer World, AMD is detailing the upcoming Jaguar low-power chip design system for tablets. And all I could think to myself was, wait a minute. They're using an old, washed-up Atari game system to power their next-generation chips? No, it's just the code name. It's codenamed Jaguar. Of course, it's the big chips. It's going to be shown in August. And, of course, we'll be sharing the stage with IBM, Oracle, and Fujitsu. The Jaguar CPU will be in tablets, available next year. So if you want to read more about that, go over to computerworld.com. Hit the right button, and I can move on from there. Let's move on. Let's go back over to CNET. Let's take a look at this article. Can Digg make a comeback? Of course, we found out earlier last week that Digg was sold for $500,000 to BetaWorks, and of course, Digg's been on this downward spiral. They've been going back and forth, and of course, there were a couple rumors a couple years back whether somebody was going to buy Digg, and they never bought Digg. I think Google had its hand in buying Digg, and in all reality, they ended up buying the main asset of Digg, which was basically Kevin Rose. That's all he wanted, I guess, for Google Ventures. So pretty cool. They're going to turn Digg back into a startup. So I don't know how that's going to work or what they're planning to do with that, but we're just going to have to watch and see what happens. Now, keep in mind, this is how important Digg is. Digg was the one that created the widget that says, hey, press on this and you'll get upped at Digg. Twitter and Facebook ended up taking that lead and then putting on their own badges onto websites. So before you had a tweet up, you had a Digg, and Digg was that was their big to do. You had a website, you had to have a Digg bar on your website because that might get dug up. So if you want to read more on that, go over to cnet.com. Moving over to our friends over at TechCrunch. Of course, later on this year, I will be at TechCrunch Disrupt in San Francisco September 8th through the 12th, I believe it is. And you can check me out there. Of course, if you want to meet me, you can come over to San Francisco, say hi. We can figure out go for dinner or something like that. You're buying. Maybe I'm buying. We'll see. Maybe I'll buy. What the hey? But I will be in San Francisco there. But anyway, TechCrunch. Facebook is talking about what they need a read it later button. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at this, and I'm going to myself, why would I want a read it later button? And to me, it's just like, I just don't understand this, because if I don't read this article now, if I don't read this bit of information now, I'm not going to read it later. I'm just not going to do it. Read it later was usually for when you're disconnected from the internet and you just wanted to read an article while you're on a plane or something like that. Now you have Wi-Fi on the plane, so why do you have to worry about that and getting that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So read it later to me would be like me throwing it next to the utility bills that I haven't paid for a couple months, the Netflix DVDs I haven't watched or sent back in the last 3 years, but still pay a monthly account for those 3 DVDs to sit on my table. I mean, that's the way I see it. We don't need a read it later button, just as well as we don't need a dislike button on Facebook. I'm just saying. What do you think? Do you think that there should be a read it later button? I think that there could be a nice third-party plug-in program that could be put into Facebook that would do it like that. Let me know. What do you think? Twitter me at Geekazine, of course, geekazine at gmail.com. Let's move from there. We're going over to computerworld.com. Sprint is launching 4G in 15 cities, the 4G LTE in 15 cities. That includes Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, and San Antonio. I don't understand why they do it in the same markets. They're always launching it in the same beginning markets, and AT&T does that too, and Verizon. If I was Sprint, I would think, well, why don't I go to other markets that don't really get first runs of things like 4G LTE and work on those markets? You know, everybody goes to Chicago first. Everybody goes to New York first. But, hey, there's a lot of people in a lot of cities that are not major metropolitan areas that could really utilize the 4G, and you could get a whole bunch of converts there, and then you attack the big cities. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that works, or do you think I'm just going insane in the membrane? Let me know. Let's move on. Like I said, that's over on computerworld.com. All right, there was a 3-year project to digitize 200,000 historical basically maps, and this was over at theverge.com. They're nearly complete. This is an absolutely free mapping system, so you'll be able to go up. You'll be able to search on this. You'll be able to move on this. It's going to have topographical information. It's going to have everything, historical information. Some of it might not be correct because these are older maps, but at least it will be in the web and it'll be totally digitized, and you'll be able to utilize it. So if you want to read more on that, check that out. It's over at theverge.com, where you can get all your information over at theverge.com. I don't know. I have to take a drink here while I move over to the next article. All right. Over at Information Week, YouTube is talking about YouTube and transforming news coverage. Now, I don't go to YouTube for my news coverage. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I go there to see Jay-Z's video. I go there to see some guy get hit in the jubblies with a ball or a plane that he threw himself, or just some fun stuff. But hey, it is a news source, and there are other cool things. I mean, yeah, I do put the news on YouTube. There is a Geekazine YouTube channel over at youtube.com/Geekazine. So it makes sense, but I think that a lot of the news would be way too skewed. I mean, you have AP, and you have the news sources. CNN puts stuff up there, and you have NBC that puts stuff, ABC that puts stuff up there, CBS, so on and so forth. So I could see people going to those sites and getting tidbits of information, but to get the whole newscast, I don't know. I don't think I definitely would not go to YouTube to do that, especially since somebody could just throw out a whole bunch of not true information, and then it's like throwing mud on the wall. Sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. And when it sticks, some people pick it up and go, "Ooh, this is valuable information," and then they miscommunicate it, and then we have mistakes in actual news press. So I see the numbers here. They say 71% of adults use sites such as YouTube or Vimeo, which is up to 66% of the previous year. They read news. They look at information. Hopefully, they get information like my show iPad 365, like Geek Smack, where it's just one-on-one information. coming into my home and just saying, hey, how you doing? Tell me, what do you want to, have you heard or seen that's out in the world today that I should know about? I don't know. What do you think? Do you get your news from YouTube, or do you actually go to a news source like USA Today, like CNN.com or whatnot? Let me know. Twitter me over at Geekazine. Once again, geekazine@gmail.com. And like I said, the hotline is 608-205-4378. All right, this last story of the tech news area would probably kind of piss me off if I actually paid for my Nokia Lumina phone. I didn't. I got it as a test sample to try out and play with, and I'm impressed on some ends of the Lumina, and on other ends of the Lumina, I'm not so impressed. And the biggest thing is I want a silent button. I miss my silent button on the iPhone because I don't want to go into 3 deep settings and turn on and off the silent. I want to be able to turn it on and off with one button. And that's what I miss on the iPhone, straight up. So, but anyway, Nokia slashed the price of the Lumina, nearly half the price of what it was before. And if I remember correctly, with a 2-year AT&T contract, you could get it for $100. Now it's going to be $25 to $50, somewhere in that price range. I'll tell you something right now. If I bought a Nokia Lumina the first day it came out, and now we're only talking a couple months difference, I would be pissed. I'd be going right back to AT&T and say, hey, I want, especially if you're 30 days, if they change the price, if you bought this phone in the last 30 days and they change the price, you can go back and say, hey, I want that discount because it's been 30 days. Even with 60 days, try it. Go up there and say, hey, look, if you're going to slash the price of this phone, I want some of my money back. This doesn't make any sense to me. And they're saying, oh, it's a big plan. This is how we were going to do it, and this is how it was going to work anyway. And it's like, no, that's not how you do it. You piss people off when you do stuff like that. 6 months if you were to cut it in half, I totally understand that. Even 3.5 to 4 months if you decide to cut it in half, I totally understand it. But not 30 to 60 days after its launch. And I believe it's been only 60 days that the Lumina's been out. I might be wrong. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I don't know. What do you think? Do you have a Lumina phone? Would you be pissed? Did you buy a lower-end Lumina because you didn't like the price of the 900, and now you think that, well, I could get the 900? I'm kind of pissed on my own site. Let me know. Twitter me at Geekazine, of course, geekazine@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that does it for the first part. That's the Tech Smack, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some information out of it. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you got all your news from YouTube. Congratulations. Anyway, we will be right back with Geek Smack. We're going to be talking a lot of cool Geek Smack, and we're going to talk about Legos. We're going to talk about engines. We're going to talk about we'll talk about cufflinks, USB. We'll do the whole thing, and we'll be right back right after this. All right, well, Geekazine is on Stitcher Internet Radio. Love Stitcher Internet Radio. It's the place where you can go to get all your podcasts. And the one thing that I really, really, really love about Stitcher Internet Radio is the fact you can set up favorites. And the cool thing about these favorites, you listen to one show, and when the show is over, you start listening to the next favorite on your favorites list. How cool is that? And, some of these other podcast catchers don't even do that. So, I don't know. I think it's a no-brainer. Get yourself Stitcher Internet Radio for your iOS, for your Android, for your BlackBerry, for your, which one am I missing? iOS, Android. There we go. For your Android system. I'm told, because now I have a Windows phone, that Windows Phone version coming out very soon, but they haven't really released a date yet. Hoping that's going to be very soon. And maybe I'll be pressuring them with this commercial. Anyway, you could win yourself $100 by going over to Stitcher.com/geek. Stitcher.com/geek. Enter in your email address, and they will send you an email telling you how to download it. You download it, and you'll be entered to win a $100 cash card. So good luck over at Stitcher Internet Radio.
Geek Smack.
All right, now that wasn't the contest for the Roku. That was the contest for Stitcher Internet Radio. If you haven't gotten Stitcher Internet Radio, now and again, if you haven't gotten Stitcher Internet Radio, you should. It's a no-brainer. It's one of the best programs that I have. Like I said, I miss on my iPhone. I can't wait for Windows Phone version to come out, or when I buy the new iPhone anyway. So, all right, okay, let's get into your Geek Smack for this week. This is all for all you baseball geeks out there. We're over at howstuffworks.com. They talk about 5 bat and ball games that predate baseball. Of course, baseball, around the turn of the century, it came out. And it was actually, if I remember correctly, it had a couple names before it was officially called baseball. And, of course, a lot of rules, a lot of changes on there. It was one time it was called stool ball, which I think a lot of people would snicker and laugh. He said stool. Isn't that a chair? Let's go to the stool ball game. Anyway, they have different ones. I think they have like 5 different versions. At one time, it was called cricket because there's a derivative from cricket there. And of course, for all you baseball fans out there, you can check it all out over at howstuffworks.com. All right, moving from there, of course, you know that I changed up Dorkazine, and now it's got more articles coming through, including this one right here. We've got some USB cufflinks that would make James Bond excited. Basically, the different types of cufflinks in different styles. Like this is a metal, some sort of brushed steel. They also have a gunmetal look. They have what's called a Ravi Rattan. I'm sure that's a style. They have like the diamond ones. They even have ones with the emergency symbols on them. So if you need to carry around your information, they know once they see the cufflinks, they know to pop that into a computer and they can get all your information, your blood type and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. So, but if you want to check out more on that, go over to dorkazine.com. Moving from there, we're going over to BuzzFeed.com. Comic-Con, of course. Comic-Con came out last week, and lots of people did a lot of crazy things. I even saw a picture of a stormtrooper they painted their stormtrooper outfit to look like Spider-Man. So it was a Spider-Man stormtrooper. Anyway, that was a pretty cool picture. But apparently, Robert Downey Jr. showed up to the festivities over at Comic-Con. Of course, he was pushing Iron Man 3 and going from there. And here, as you can see, he's demonstrating how to run a shake weight. Oh, wait, no, that's not it? Okay. Well, he's doing something to talk about Iron Man 3. He did that at Comic-Con. I can't show you the video because then YouTube will get upset with me. So I'll just leave it at that. You can check that out over at BuzzFeed.com. Back over on Dorkazine, an article that I wrote earlier today. Lego article for all you Lego nuts. Rolls-Royce came out with a Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft. I'm sorry, the engine that's in the Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft, and it's called the Trent 1000. Well, they commissioned Bright Bids. What's it called? Bright Bricks. That's right, Bright Bricks to come in and put together this engine, which took about 152,455 Legos. They did it in 160 sections, and then they put all the sections together. And of course, you have this. We have the YouTube video, and of course, a bunch of pictures about the building of this Lego creation. So if you want to check on that, go back over to Dorkazine. Over at Kickstarter, hey, I remember Penny Arcade. I'll tell you something. Before Geekazine, I had a website. Well, I still have a website called WI Bands. Before that, I had a website called Tunes. And the idea, I drew comics at the turn of the century. When I was doing IT, drawing comics was my way out. And I created a comic called Cybeeks, which was about 2 IT guys that were living the dream. And then I had a whole bunch of caption contests featuring Hercules, except I called it Hack You Please, and Xena Warrior Princess. And then I did Doctor Who for a while, which was pretty cool. But anyway, there were a lot of comics that came out at that time, GPF, and I knew a lot of these guys. I talked back and forth with them on the web. One of them was Penny Arcade. And I remember when they came out, and it's like, yeah, wow, they're doing pretty good. They're kind of kicking it. Well, apparently they're kicking it on Kickstarter because they put in a Kickstarter to go ad free on their website, and they said, hey, $250,000, we're going ad free, and now they've got 29 days to go. You see this? 29 days to go, $303,410, and they're not done yet. There's a lot of pledges. You can pledge as little as $1, but look at these pledges. Let's switch this over here. Look at these pledges. You can pledge $25 for a book. At $35, you can get a copy of Rainstick Principle of Darkness. I can speak right now. $75 gets you a remastered version of Tycho's Penny Arcade. $100, $125. They're moving up in bigger increments. $500 more, Gabe and Tycho will retweet one of your tweets. $750 or more, $1,000, $2,000, $2,500, $5,000, up to $10,000 or more. $10,000, and there's no backers for $10,000. There's one backer for $9,999, and you'll get lunch with Mike and Jerry. You just have to get to Seattle. If I put a $10,000 Kickstarter pledge on my site, I don't know if I'd get any backers, or $9,999 pledge, just to have lunch with me. Would you do it? Would you give me $9,999 just to have lunch with me? Let me know. Twitter me, Geekazine at gmail.com, and of course 608-205-4378. All right, finally, Forbes. Check this out. Of course, this is our infographic of the day. This is the social networks, or social summer movies, basically. The most talked about movies socially and how they rank. Of course, Spider-Man seems to be on the top, which I'm really surprised about. And then you have, what is that? Lawless? I have not heard of that one. Okay. Then, of course, you have Brave, Avengers, and then Men in Black 3, which I thought was a pretty decent movie. Apparently, it didn't. A lot of people didn't like it. They talked about the social chatter over the time, the male-female ratio, so on and so forth. So you can check that all out. The full infographic is over at Forbes.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for the end of the Geek Smack. We're going to get you into your main subject, and that basically is Yahoo! And, of course, the third, fourth, fifth go-around with the brand new website, Mr. John Mayer. Wait, what? No, not John Mayer. Marissa Mayer. And we're going to talk about that, and we'll do that right after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, stop dreaming, start streaming, get yourself a Roku. A Roku is what you need for your streaming. You can get all your cool stuff with the Roku. I'm saying it's a Roku over at Roku. Go over to geekazine.com/Roku, and you can get a Roku as little as $50 a month. They also have refurbished models where you get an extra 25% off. But go over to geekazine.com/Roku. Of course, that helps me keep the lights on over at Geekazine. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are giving away a Roku2 at Geeksmack. I told you I was going to have a contest last week. Hopefully you listened. And now here we are. We're going to give away a Roku to some lucky person. We're going to do that in 2 weeks. Not next show, but the week after, the show after that. Here is what you do. Here's what you do. And you can get more than one entry. So basically, go over to geekazine.com. and comment on the show, on the Geekazine post over at geekazine.com. Extra point, go over to YouTube and find the video. And all you have to do is go to geekazine.com and you'll find the YouTube video. Click on YouTube. That'll take you over to the YouTube video. Like the video and comment on the video, and you'll get an extra point. Extra point if you Twitter. But you got to use at Geekazine and Geeksmack. I'm watching Geeksmack on at Geekazine. And, of course, you can go www.thegeeksmack.com or www.geekazine.com. It'll get you to both places. So that's basically how you do it. One, you can comment on the website, on the post. If you comment on any other posts, I won't see it. Two, you comment on YouTube. You can do a video comment if you want. You can do a regular comment. Once again, on the video for this video right here, that's when you comment. If you comment on another video, I can't do much about it. Like it too. Three, you tweet about it. And I'm going to collect all the tweets. You got to use @Geekazine. We also have to have the hashtag here. So how about we do hashtag GS for GeekSmack. And then @Geekazine. Those two parts on the Twitter. Hashtag GS @Geekazine. Now, these instructions will not be on the website. You got to listen to the show or watch the show to get the instructions. So if somebody says, well, how do you win this contest? You got to watch to find out. And like I said, we're not going to draw this next week, but we're going to draw in 2 weeks. So now here's the thing: is you get one, two, three chances this week, but then you can turn around and get 3 more chances for next week, and all 3 chances your name gets thrown in. So that's how it works. So pretty cool. One, comment and like over on comment on geekazine.com on the post for the Geek Smack episode. And the name of the Geek Smack episode, what I call it, it's called basically Yahoo, something with Yahoo. There we go. Well, it says listen and win. Roku2 Yahoo tries one more time at this internet thing. That's the name of the title. Then go over to YouTube and listen, and it'll say listen and win plus Yahoo tries one more time. And you comment on there, plus you go to Twitter. That's another entry. You don't have to go to Twitter, but remember the hashtag GS and remember @Geekazine. Those are the 2 important things for Twitter. So anyway, that's how you win. Get yourself a Roku. Otherwise, by going over to geekazine.com/Roku and get yourself a Roku for as little as $99. All right, enough about that. Let's get into your main subject here. And as the song goes, here we go again on our own, going down the only road we ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. Yahoo, of course, we're talking about Yahoo, the company that's trying to sing another song that's called Glory Days, has basically finally made up their mind once again. After the whole debacle with Scott, they've finally got a CEO that probably can do some good damage to Yahoo, maybe. We'll see. Marissa Mayer was the vice president of Google, and now she has the reins as CEO to this troubled internet company. I really can't say giant anymore. It's not an internet giant. It's an internet company. They kind of lost that 10 years ago. 5 years ago, we'll say. Now, there's only one problem that I see, and that's this toy has basically been battered and beaten and handed down so many times that it's lost eyeballs, it's lost clothing, it's got a couple tears, maybe some stitches in it, but it just doesn't look that great. So the only thing that stayed pristine in this whole thing was Yahoo's business and email. They've kept that as in best condition as possible. Everything else is pretty much dead, is pretty much trash. I mean, they don't even have search anymore. They sold that to Microsoft. Everything else was spit out and thrown to the side. It's just amazing. Well, I suppose Flickr is also a good one too, but that also can be incorporated into their business strategies. So they don't even have powerful search anymore. So what do? Where does that go? Where does she take the company from here? Does she revive things? Does she make everything pristine? Does she focus on something? Well, I did say the business end of Yahoo is still pretty decent. I suppose if they acquire a company or a couple companies that can really accentuate that business end, they could become one of the largest online cloud business app providers. That could work. You know, I suppose if you find, I don't know if Zoho is up for sale or anything like that. You buy something like Zoho, and you really make the run for the business apps, for the business clients that don't want to have a server in their server room anymore, and they want to just virtualize it all, like people like me who can't really have a server system in his house. Can't have an Exchange. Oh, I can have an Exchange server, but I don't want to. I mean, it's just me. So I don't know. I think I would then bid on Zoho and then try and make that, and then just kind of forget about everything else. Cut the fat. Like I said, the one thing that I still am saying, and I said before, I'll say it again: Yahoo needs to change their name. When you think Yahoo, you think 1999. There has to be some change to make it into 2012. And that might just be the one thing that gets them stepping forward, which is the one thing that the investors really want to see. They want to see progress. They want to see above $15 a share. Maybe back to their glory days of $40 to $50 a share. Wouldn't that be cool? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. You can Twitter me, once again, over at Geekazine, or email me, geekazine@gmail.com. And, of course, the hotline is 608-205-4378. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that is it for this episode of Geek Smack. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thank you very much for spending time with me and getting your tech and geek zen cleaned. I think that's how you say it. Clean your geek and tech zen. We will be back next week with another episode of Geek Smack. And of course, you can definitely call and email me and say, hey, can I win that Roku2? Remember, I'm not going to talk about it again. There's only going to be one time in this episode and one time in next week's episode on how you can win that Roku2. You just got to watch and listen, and you'll get that information. But good luck in entering for the Roku2. And, of course, we'll be back next week when it will be, of course, Geek Smack once again. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching and listening over on Stitcher Internet Radio, Zune, iTunes, or wherever you're listening to. We will see you next week. You guys geek out and take care. Puppy.